June 17, 2014. It's now what time?
10 after 7.
10 after 7 will come to order. Let's rise for a moment of silent meditation. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Bast.
Here.
Cassatt.
Here.
Mope. Here. Sosar.
Here.
Mundy.
Here. Approving the minutes of the previous meeting, May 27th, for the work session, May 27th, the regular meeting.
Presented.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes passed. Proclamations, communications, none. Courtesy of the floor regarding matters on our agenda only. Yeah, you could go up there. Anybody could.
D. Deacus, Hazleton. This is concerning the ordinance for the parking, 2014-68. I would really recommend you table it. There's some very serious problems with it. The first one is the legal status of the parking authority, because when they asked for it to be renewed, it wasn't properly renewed, so it's theoretically defunct. So until that's straightened out, there shouldn't be any contract with anybody concerning the parking authority. That's your first item. Second one is I downloaded the Parking Authority Act, and one of the things the Parking Authority Act does is that it does off-street parking terminals for public, and I'm going to stress the word public, needs in relation to such parking. Now what happens is they're allowed to lease, and one of the things is the leases should be granted on a fair, competitive basis. And the whole thing is competitive means it should be bid out. Now, did the other buildings have an opportunity to bid on this parking? And the only reason I'm saying that is I'm a building owner, and nobody came up to me and said, do you want to have so many parking spaces because you need it for your building? And the same thing happens with the business exchange. I'm sure no one approached them because I talked to the guy that manages the building. They weren't given that opportunity. And so what happens is the competitive portion of this was not really granted. It was saying, we're going to just give it to one company. And it isn't that we haven't supported their projects. In 2013, they had an LSA grant for $1 million that they were awarded. In 2014, we asked for $2 million for it. I don't know if they're going to get it or not, but they've at least gotten $1 million. So it's not that the city doesn't support their downtown efforts. Okay, now, there's a couple of things. I was listening to the mayor on Channel 13 tonight, and one of the things he said that one of the things that he had a promise was that the garage was going to be fully repaired, which is fine. It should have been repaired years ago, and I think that's a good thing. However, one of the reasons they're saying that they're going to get this break on the price is because they're going to maintain it. Now, if we're going to get this garage up to proper maintenance, it's going to be quite a few years before they really have to do any major maintenance other than maybe changing light bulbs or something. Now what happens is they want to reduce the price to $30 a space. And what I did was I did an analysis. I have what the parking rates are because I had one put on my car when the rates went up. And what happens is in the garage, your cheapest monthly is $44.30. If you get a reserved space, it's $55.50. And their daily parking is $4. Now, I did the math, and what I did was I actually did the 215 times 44, assuming that there's no longer any reserved spaces. And the 35 spaces which would come out to $3,340, and it actually comes out to $10,693. But we're going to be leasing this out at $6,450. And looking at that, that's a $4,000 reduction. Now, when I looked at their contract, they said that they're paying $30 a space. So I checked their math. Now they have 215 spaces in the garage, and they have 35 spaces in the strip. That comes out to 250 spaces. What's 250 times 30? Okay, I'll make it easy for you, 7,500, which is more than 1,000 higher than they're offering to pay. Okay, the other thing is they don't need that many spaces. There really is no need for them to take the strip because the parking garage alone accommodates their needs. And as I said, other people downtown rely on this parking. Now, one of the things they said is they will offer the parking to other people. They're going to offer a certain percentage, 25%. Now, the thing that I noticed was missing was, are they going to hold the same rates that the parking authority was holding? Now, if they don't charge the same rates, what happens is, for all the buildings other than their own, it makes renting from those buildings cost prohibitive because of the fact their employees, the owners, what have you, of these businesses, that parking cost becomes a wild card because they could charge what the market will bear, and by having higher rates for people other than people in their own building, they would encourage renters to go to their building rather than other buildings. And again, that makes it very non-competitive. As I said, the purpose of the parking authority is for public. And even though they're part of the public, you're ignoring the rest of the public. Now comes some other problems that we have is that we're going to have a garage built at Broad and Laurel. We also have a lot of streets that are not currently used for parking. We have Chestnut Street, correction. We have Laurel Street and such, and they should be offered for parking. And the whole thing is perhaps a parking study should be done. The next question I'm going to ask, if when we build this garage at Broad and Laurel, are they going to insist that they also have full claim to it? And at that point, they really control downtown to the exclusion of everybody else, which makes it very non-competitive. And as a property owner, I find this wrong. And also, perhaps we should have a study, because I remember they said, what was it, 160 spaces? The garage alone has 215. There's no justification for taking the strip over. And the one building that's going to be harmed, and it's a taxpayer-owned building, is the one at Broad and Laurel, which is the Business Exchange, the old Dice Rose McCrory's building. And the businesses that we will impact, one is the community college. It is a good thing we have the community college in the downtown, because what happens is they're going to be our future employees, they're going to be our future business owners, and they're going to say, hey, downtown is fine. So do we want to chase out our college? We have a law firm there. We have an engineering firm there. We have CEO there. We have the sheriff department there. We have a couple other businesses. There's so many down there that I can't even keep track of all of them. And they didn't have that same option to have reserved parking. And if they take away all the parking, do we make this building empty? And then as taxpayers, we're now covering at the county level, which is our county taxes, the loss of maybe tenants into that building. I really suggest that this should be tabled until more research is done. Just even the fact that the difference is $7,500 versus $6,450. What else is there in that lease that is not beneficial to the public? Thank you.
Thank you.
You could go next, John.
Hello, my name is Sally Rivera. I actually am here for the ordinance of the stop sign for 19th Street. I actually live on 19th Street on Peace, 893 Peace Street. My house has been hit 3 times already. It's been damaged in the front because of these cars that speed up. I do have triplets, 6-year-old triplets. I want to be able to sit in the front of my house with my kids and not have to worry about these cars speeding back and forth. I do feel that the stop sign should be put there. It's not only for the benefit of myself, but the benefit of the public. It's something that we all need. We had to fix the house. It was completely damaged in the front. You know, it was a terrible situation that we had to go through. I really don't want to see this happen again. And I'm just asking you, you know, to approve this, please. Okay?
Do most of your neighbors feel the same way, too?
You do?
Do most of your neighbors feel the same way
Oh,
as you?
yes, they do. And there's a lot of, right now, there's a lot of high school students in the area. And right now, my kids are going to I don't know if you heard, the high school. And there's a lot of little kids that are going to be in the area. So these cars speeding back and forth, you know, putting a stop sign is gonna help stop these accidents from happening.
Slow them down.
Stop the accidents from happening.
Yeah, I live in the Heights, and we have the school Heights Terrace by us.
Yeah.
Every block there's a stop sign.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. John, you could speak.
John Keegan, 105 Ferrara Avenue, Hazleton. I looked today on the internet, and I saw Resolution 2014-74, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Hazleton, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, authorizing, empowering, and directing the proper city officials of the governing body to appoint a liaison between it and Berkheimer, the duly appointed collector of local taxes for the City of Hazleton, for the express purpose of sharing confidential tax information with the City of Hazleton for official purposes. I don't know where you believe that you are entitled to my confidential tax information, but I would suggest that Attorney DeCosmo over there review the IRS code, specifically Section 6153, Part A. It is, and you will also want to check, Charlie, the Fort Cherry School District versus Susan Coppola. It was a Supreme Court decision with the right to know law in Pennsylvania that disallowed the sharing of W-2s and 1099s. And I believe it's appalling that this council would want our tax information. I don't understand under what rule or what legislation you would be entitled to it. And I really believe that you better take a quick and, a long look at why this is saying that.
Calm down. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's between the administrator and Berkheimer.
No, it says here, the proper city officials of the governing body.
It's not
Well, in
us.
The city administration is not the governing body. You're the governing body.
In the past, it's been the city administrator.
What's that, Doctor?
I said thank you for finally recognizing that, but that's other than from what this argument is about.
But the city administrator has been the liaison for
liaison.
that.
We
I remember asking them about it because I don't think we had it before. I know with, I think we had it with Wilkinson, but we've always had somebody.
What would make you think you're entitled to confidential tax information? I think confidential, Jack, you're the tax professional. You should know the IRS code on this.
Put this on.
It's confidential.
Yeah.
Who put this on?
I think this was put on by the mayor. The mayor put this on, not us.
No, Tom put it on.
Tom put it on?
Tom put it on. Okay.
There you go.
Well, that's from the administration. so-
Well, it says the governing body,
Yeah.
and you're the governing body.
In other words, you would prefer this governing body to vote it
We
down.
can amend this, just.
What I'm
to
saying
get
is that you're. I'm saying that you're not in.
Would
What
you
I'm saying is
prefer this
you are not entitled to
down?
confidential tax information. What I'm saying, this should have never been on the agenda in the
But
first
are you
place.
suggesting that this governing body voted down?
I'm saying that you should take it off the agenda. That's what I'm saying.
Because
It should have never been on
the
there.
improper people have put it on?
I'm not. No, now you're trying to put words in my mouth,
I
Doctor.
didn't
We're not
a-
going
I
to go
asked you a
there. We're not going to
question.
go
I'm not
there.
putting anything
What
in
I'm
your mouth.
speaking to is you were in charge of your agenda, not the mayor. You're in charge of your agenda.
you for
You saw
saying
something
that.
on there that shouldn't have been there?
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that. That will
Richard?
be,
Okay.
please
Okay.
underline that in the minutes.
Okay,
The mayor can still put stuff on the agenda, but you're in charge of it.
Okay, thanks for changing your words.
No, I'm telling you, this is you, Doctor. You were an
Thank you for
architect of this.
changing your words.
You were an architect of this government, and you don't want to follow it. That's what the problem is. And now, as far as the parking ordinance, Ms. Stikos gets a free parking spot. So maybe that's what all of this is, what all of this contention is about, and that should be out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead, you could
What else?
come up.
This needs to just be amended.
Well,
Hey, good evening. I apologize for my English. I will try to speak very well. And I'm coming here for the parking meeting.
could you state your name, please, and where you live?
Ibelis Eufrasio, 860 Cyber Street.
Cyber Street. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And I understand you want to bring the progress to Hazleton, and I want you to think about the elder people we have here and the people we have, they don't have a smartphone or they don't know how to use. So I want to know if you can reevaluate about leave the older parking meter parking.
Okay, that's concerning the mayor's idea of doing something with the smartphones.
And the
He hasn't really approached us about that yet, but rest assured, we're keeping the meters for now and
With the same minutes and the same
Yeah,
quotas?
for
So
now,
everything
we're
go-
keeping the same meters, and we haven't made any changes.
So nothing
and
gonna
we're not
change
using
for now.
Smartphones, yeah, for now.
That was a suggestion by the mayor, but that doesn't mean it flew.
I use this all the time. I know how to make calls and I know how to get calls, and if I get a second call, I still don't even know how to take the second
That's true.
call.
He doesn't know how to
Okay?
make calls.
So
Okay.
please understand, I am not computer literate in this as well. It has not come to council. I will not make a big to-do about what was just said, but when this governing body decides, and only when this governing body decides, that is what will happen. And we are not ready to do that, and I don't see it for the foreseeable future. So rest assured, you'll be able to put your coins in the meter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the meters will still be
So
there.
I understand you say maybe it's simple. Don't allow the APP or something like that, but we have a lot of people have a Obamacare phone or something like that, so they don't have the possibility
They
to
don't have
allow.
all the
They're not
accommodations.
familiar.
Okay.
They're not familiar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
You're okay. Okay, Mark, or
No, Mark, wait.
wait a minute, Mark.
Go. Go ahead.
Thanks, Norman. Mark Rabo, First Street. I have a question about Ordinance 2014-8, amending the annual plan for the community planning and development. I notice here for fiscal year 2011, you have housing rehab NSP $1,110.04. Is that to tell everybody that there's only $1,110 worth of blight remediation or slum clearing of slums for the entire city for that year, and also for fiscal year 2014 for City Hall, it says $15,285.17. So that's all that's going to be amended for this community planning and development program. I mean, that to me is abysmal, because considering how many vacant properties or properties that go vacant since 2011, we have 150 properties, according to the census, that go vacant every year, that we have not one authority board or commission that has to deal with properties in the city that actually meet on a regular basis. And one of them, meaning the Redevelopment Authority, is used as a dummy corporation. Now, hey, the facts are indisputable because they're in the paper. As far as the Redevelopment Authority, $5.5 million was used to get debt relief for the city. So I just want to know what the deal is with this slum clearance and blight remediation. That's $1,110. Don't you think we should apply for, I don't know, maybe $1 million? Think that would be, kind of necessary?
And I would agree with you, Mark. I saw Fallon.
Yeah, when we get to that, Fallon will come up and ask.
And we can address
We can
that.
ask her some questions,
Again,
Mark.
we are, and I know that Fallon was and the young lady who was here at the last meeting suggested that now in July, and as soon as we get everything established for more lower income, we can't really ask for the more money. We can ask for money to maybe take care of some of the projects that you want. But that will come in asking even for more money as we find more of the city of Hazleton in need so that we can apply. I agree with you. We do need a lot more than that.
But we ask for LSA grants in $1 million, $2 million, $3 million for the downtown revitalization. But neighborhood revitalization seems to take a back seat. It's like you want to have neighborhood revitalization. You might as well wait for the diamond to appear in the middle of Broad Street, because you're going to have toxic waste, and before you get.
And this is what I was talking about last meeting. We need to get, and we must have, regardless of how it's done and how it's accomplished, we need to have all of our boards and commissions working in unison with one another, not made to be dummy
corporations. I think they need to be reconstituted, Dr. Sosar.
Simply be dead.
They need to be reconstituted.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly, and we understand that.
They're
understand
working independently of each other, and one's doing one thing, and nobody's sharing. All right, so that has to change. Besides that, and I agree, and I've said this all along. Yes, the downtown area is coming along nicely. It's a benefit to us to have new streets, new sidewalks, the buildings being done, whatever. And I also said that we also have to pay attention to the rest of the city as well. We are on board for what's going on downtown, but we're also not neglecting the needs and the wants of the rest of the city. And I've tried to say this and state this. So we need to have a blend with everybody.
I'm going to take you one step further. Because, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this tonight, but I'm going to say it anyway. You heard an argument here before about who the government body is, what should be getting done, and who should be putting ordinances on, and who should be putting resolutions on. We finally got some people to admit who has the authority to do what and how it works. So guess what? We're going to do that.
And guess what?
Okay?
We're going to start getting information that we've been bypassed with, all right, because we've been neglected. We are like the orphan child of.
It's not going to continue.
And
It's not only the boards. You have ordinances now that are obsolete, considering now that the reenacted third-class city code, which leads me to my next question, which is the resolution reconsidering and overriding the mayor's veto of Ordinance 2014-7. I hate to tell the mayor this, but his veto means nothing in this as far as this ordinance goes. It's moot. If you look at the reenacted third-class city code, under Section 2431, parking lots, council may acquire by lease, purchase, or condemnation proceedings land which in its judgment may be necessary and desirable for the purpose of establishing and maintaining lots for the sole purpose of parking motor vehicles. Council may regulate the use of the land, including postings of signs, and may establish and designate areas exclusively reserved for parking by persons with disabilities. Such regulation of parking lots shall be consistent with Title 75, which is what the chief said is vehicle code, and the Act of October 27, 1955, known as the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act.
Mark, please let me just stop you. I understand, and you're getting into very, very technical things right now. Again, the governing body is taking care of this.
Yeah.
Okay? The governing body
I just
is
wanted
taking
to state
care of
that
this.
to the-
And you can say
To the
that
chief
all you
executive
want,
officer of the
okay?
municipality.
And you know, the press is picking up on this. The people here are picking up on this. The governing body
Yes.
of this city knows what it's got to do and will handle this.
I
Give
just
us-
hope the chief
give us
executive
time.
officer of the
Give
municipality
us time, and
recognizes
we'll get
that.
it taken care of.
And don't
okay?
worry.
Please,
We're getting-
give us time.
We're getting used to being vetoed by the mayor, so a lot of times we just don't even pay attention.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, Mark.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm going to make it very quick. First of all, Norman Tarantino, 154 North Lake Court, Hazleton. I just make it very sorry. I just wanted to encourage council. I'm glad to see the council is making action to take back control of the city, and I'd like to encourage them to override the veto in Act 2014-80 and to move forward to get control back of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norman.
Go ahead.
John Homer, Grand Street in Hazleton. About Ordinance 2014-80, I believe it is. I'm in favor of my witnessing, you getting the resolution so the overriding of the veto could be done.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Let's see to it that he could be stopped.
Okay. Thank you, John.
The games have
Thank
got
you,
to
John.
end.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Any more comments on just what's on the agenda? Later, you could comment on anything. Okay, that's it. We'll move on to old business. Ordinances, none. Resolution 2014-68, authorization to execute a lease agreement between the Hazleton Parking Authority, City of Hazleton, and DHD Realty Holding, LLC.
I'll present.
It's tabled. Well, to take it off the
I'll
table.
present to take it off the
To take it
table.
off the table?
I present.
No, you second to take
I'll
it off the
second. Did he
table.
take it off? Okay.
The vote to take it off the table, roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Now, we have to present it again. You
Okay,
wanna
I'll present.
again?
I'll present it again.
And
I'll second.
Jeannie seconded it? Roll call?
Well,
Bass.
On the question, sorry.
on the
that's-
question, first of all, there's been a lot of
On
discussion.
the question, could you come up, Neil, and just, maybe you could just go over some of the changes in the lease briefly for
And
us.
please address some of Dee's concerns.
Yeah,
Not a
there-
problem,
there-
not a
There's
problem.
been a lot of changes. I shouldn't say a lot of changes.
I
but
believe
there's been
3 or 4.
significant changes.
Correct.
And I think this helps everyone in the community out.
Correct. That's been our goal the whole time. So,
Right.
Neil, just state your name. And
Neil D'Angelo, and I'm with DHD Realty Holding. We have amended the lease for certain sections to include 25% of the parking in the garage will be made available to the public at all times. 25% of our spaces, when I say ours, the spaces that DBI will need to go into the Traders Building will also be made available on our off times, and these are minimums. So between 8 and 5 is our prime time. So those 120 spaces will be made available. I could tell you if you come up our place 5 o'clock, the parking lot empties out relatively quickly. So I would be hard pressed to think that more like 80%, but I won't. But 25 is the minimum.
So Neil, excuse me, while we go through this, please, and I don't mean to interrupt you that much.
No
but-
problem.
So what we're talking about is the people who have a need of being downtown, especially students, especially instructors, especially people who have needs of doctors, of professionals downtown, will still be able to utilize the spaces, and that will not become a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's some talk about additional spaces. If additional spaces were ever to be added to the garage, whether it's additional decks or whatever, we've agreed that 50% or more, that's a minimum, will be made available to the public at all times. I believe those were the 3. The option to purchase can only be executed instead of at any time, can only be executed after the 180-day term or cycle. So every 180 days, the option can be, instead of it being done at any time or any
10
point.
years.
10 years.
It is by no means our intention right now to purchase that garage, just so everybody's clear on that. But as far as one of the other concerns I had about the cost, we're very transparent in this D. I promise you that it's going to cost us more than $55, and I don't like to promise, but it's going to cost us more than $55 a space to not only maintain, but the utilities. Utilities last year were over $6,000 a year in that garage. So that puts us over your numbers already. I'd be willing to sit, I mean, I know this, but it's very open book, so there's nothing hidden here as far as that. As far as your worry about the Broad and Laurel garage, I, again, won't make a promise, but I can't support any time we will try to claim that garage for any reason. So, again, without making a promise, what else did you mention? Oh, the amount of spaces, the $30 a space. I believe it states in there that it's $30 a space, and then after the renovations by the city are complete, a count will be done, and that rate will change. So I don't remember if that language is still in there. I'm not an attorney, but I believe that there's... Right. Well, I don't know whether I believe there's still language in there that can be adjusted, but the whole point was it would be $30 a space. So if there's more than that, that's what it is then. So.
But with the helping of the maintaining, I think we were saying making sure that it was, and I'm not talking, there's money being put into it to fix it on up, but also not only with the light, but with the insurances, right? Mm-hmm. And also, I think when we were talking a little bit about probably just plowing some of it out in wintertime with the snow and all that.
Correct.
So that there will always be an accessibility for not only your workers, but also for the good people who use the facilities on a daily basis. I think we're finding, and what we're trying to get out of this is a win-win, be a good neighbor to invite a business which is building downtown, but also to protect a lot of the citizenry that looks to that parking garage as a very important and a vital part of their way of life as well. So I think we've come up with a pretty substantial agreement here that helps both sides out.
I have a question. The insurance $5 million, is that standard in parking garages, or you know that, Neil?
I do not know that.
Is that like a regular amount?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
It seems like a reasonable amount. $5 million.
I'm assuming it is. I don't know where that number came from, to be honest with you. That's not my thing. But Dad, do you know?
About the insurance, how they came up with that, Neil? That's what you recommend. I'm sure to protect yourselves and the city. I mean, you're not going to leave yourself open in case anything happens. So that should be enough to cover if anything should happen. and covers the city totally.
And I do remember with the conversation about the plowing, only the fact that you received a lot of complaints that the garage wasn't being plowed out in a timely manner, and you assured us that would occur now?
Absolutely. I mean, what you got to remember is the city has a lot of responsibilities, and it's the whole city. So their streets department has a lot to take care of. This can be the focus of ours. So I'd like to say, without any disrespect to the group that maintains the streets, because they do a great job for what they have, but I'd like to think we can do it better because it would be our focus to keep it.
And again, we want to thank you for that, and that's not a slight. The guys do have
Absolutely
an awful
not.
lot. They do have an awful lot on their plate, so thank you.
Not a problem.
Now, there won't be, and I don't know how this is going to occur, the rental of the spaces or whatever, but say the Broad Street Exchange LLC wants to come and say they want, can they do it individually, or do they have the ability to rent in a bulk amount of spaces if they chose?
I mean, they can rent the spaces just how they do now. So I mean, if they need 10 spaces, they'll have 10 spaces.
And I think they were receiving a discount, if I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure from the city. I think that's what I was told. Will that still be available for them?
I mean, I haven't pulled the numbers, and again, I can't guarantee anything, but what I'd like to say, and I've heard this concern a lot, I mean, we're not looking to do anything.
Right.
We're trying to encourage people to come
You're
downtown.
going to want you're not going to charge ridiculous amounts so that nobody comes there.
Exactly.
You're stupid.
Exactly.
You're not stupid.
And the other fact is, I mean, without coming outright, I mean, we'll start the rate. I'd like to think that everybody will be paying exactly what they do now. And
What I'm trying to do is give you the opportunity to tell your side of the story. So, I mean, those were some of the things that were brought up
Right.
when we had our meeting and we asked about or
Right.
whatever. Or that one I just thought of because that was asked to me where the rates stayed the same.
Right.
I said, I'll ask it.
we like to think that's a fair number, 30.
Right.
Information out so that if there's any inquiries, and if Dee brought up the thing about the lot, that the Mine Street parking lot, will the spaces still be available like as if they are? Will it continue on the way it's been, or will that change?
We haven't really done. I mean, what we would think to do is to look at who has parking where now and honor that. Trust me,
Are you going to honor it?
we haven't looked at that currently or yet. But what my thing would be is let's see who has spots where and that's currently using that garage, and let's honor that. We're not going to be trying to put anybody out here. I mean, that's not the purpose. The purpose for us to rent the whole garage, and I've heard this concern a lot, is simply a security reason and a maintenance reason. We feel that our attorney has case history of situations where different cities and different things, so his recommendation was to rent or to lease the whole garage, and simply the maintenance, as we've discussed. We feel that we can maintain it.
Neil, do you have any plans to put any cameras in and around the...
I think Judy just asked me that question. I would think we would, just because we even said that we'd go to the length of
Smart idea.
hiring full-time. If we have to and security's an issue, we'll go to whatever lengths. I mean, we need to secure, make sure it's secure.
So,
Yeah.
and so
Makes
when Judy
sense,
goes
yeah.
to park, she'll be
Yeah.
secure with the improvements that are going into the garage, that she doesn't have to worry about the cement falling on her car anymore.
Right. I think for Judy's example, Judy will, in a couple months, will get to park in her same spot at her same rate in a brand new garage that is better maintained and more secure. I think, to be honest,
Does that alleviate your fears?
I got to think.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No.
Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
Looking at the last 6 years of audits for the parking authority, last year they revenue 68,000. You're going to guarantee 77,000 to us.
correct.
You're going to take on 102,000 in expenses. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. The year before, the parking garage itself, just the parking garage, was 122,000 in expenses.
And if you look at that too, it's probably, and I don't know what the expenses are all on there, but one that jumped out to me is that he spent $26 on maintenance, and I don't know all the specifics on that, but it's going to cost more than $26
It's going
to
to be a huge
maintain the
savings
garage.
for the city, I think. Now, the other thing is, I came up with, I went down, I calculated there was 239 spaces in the garage, and the 44 on the strip. I mean, I guess that'll be recalculated, but I'm just looking
I believe that language is still in there. I don't remember,
I'm
but
just saying that. Yes, I understand. I just like the concern with the revenue is, like I said, we brought in 68,000 last year, and you're going to guarantee us 78. So
and take on the expense of maintenance
expenses
and
the
utilities.
triple net lease.
The value to us, just to be clear, the value to us isn't, it's to the tenants and to the people downtown and our employees. There's no.
I understand. I'm just.
No.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question. One of our bones of contention was with the budget and whatnot, was the employee thing, okay? Now, I know a few of them approached me and they're afraid. So if you are taking over the parking garage, there's a lady in there that does the parking, she's the parking attendant. Are you going to keep her on? Do you need a parking attendant?
We're talking about right now how we're going to manage all the spaces in there, looking at some electronic options as well. It's not going to be the phone, it's going to be, more, I don't know if you ever went to some of the cities where you go into a thing, you put your money in, you take your ticket, put it on the window. We're not exactly sure yet.
Okay.
You don't know. We're looking at the options right now.
And we got to work with the city, obviously, because they're working to to fix it up. So, I don't know what they have planned. And
Do they have a timetable when they're going to start, Neil, or once?
it was I just gave Dad the article. I guess what, June 11th. It was advertised in the paper. I saw it in the paper. So I'm not sure. I would like to think right away. Hopefully, as soon as possible.
And that's not our job. That's you and the mayor. That's between you and him. And God bless you. Yeah.
The only
We'll do our part.
Absolution.
We'll do our part. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, the only other question I have is the parking authority existing. Does it?
Well,
Are we signing this?
Well, I think
we're past. If we pass it or not, that's another issue, and that's for you guys to work out. I mean, that's that's for you and the mayor to.
My understanding is, and I don't understand. Again, I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is that's why the parking authority and city are obviously parties here, and our thing is get both signatures on there and approvals, and then if one disbands, one,
I know.
I think what you're concerned about right now is what we have a theme here tonight. This governing body is going to take care of what it needs to, and the administration can do whatever it is that they feel they need to, when they need to, if they need to.
And we understand this should have been done a long time ago. This lease and everything should have come to us.
I understand.
A year ago, probably, or at least 6 months ago, rather than now.
And the discussions.
I know you guys are going to be under timelines and guns that you probably didn't have to be under, and it's not our fault. We're not going to be blamed for it. It's the administration, and that's between you and the administration.
We discussed it.
We discussed that a lot, and there's I think a much better understanding today than there's been in the past. And I think that's always a good thing. And I think today we know how to cooperate better together to move things ahead. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled about that.
Communication's the root of all evil, and we tell each other that all the time. So,
my only concern is: are we voting on the what's above the fire station, which the city definitely owns today? The 30
Somebody else
spaces?
asked me about that. Yeah, what about that?
Now, if
somebody else asked
parking
me about that.
doesn't exist, do you have to come back to council for us to sign the other half of the agreement? Like right now, the city only owns the fire station.
Correct.
And the 30 spaces on top there.
Correct.
So I'm assuming that's what we'd be voting on today, just to give you authority to park on them 30 spaces.
Well,
If the parking authority doesn't exist, do you have to come back to council to ask us?
I think that we're trying to get
I understand, but legally, what are we voting on? Are we voting on the whole thing? But right now we only own the fire station.
Yeah, but
Unpaid.
yeah, he's privy to some of our information and some of the things we have to do, but not all of the city business, and so he can't answer for Chris. Which I wish we had Chris here. I told Joe and I told Chris when he was president here. I said Chris should be here at every meeting, and well, I wouldn't. Yeah.
But what they tell you and what's true are two different.
well, no, to be honest, we had a problem with that because we.
Yeah, and what the mayor thinks and what he does, and he thinks he's a dictator sometimes, and he doesn't realize that council decides, ordinances and laws and the budgets. He administers it. He doesn't, I know you are, Neil. I know, and we're hopefully.
I think to answer the question, and I'm not again an attorney, but we're looking for not only the 30, but the approval of the city, if for whatever spaces they can approve at this point, and then we'll get the parking authority to hopefully sign off on their piece, and then if disbandment happens, we'll approach at that point. If we need to come back to council at that point, I guess we will.
Yeah, if there's another agreement or we have to sign something or approve something.
As long as there's something
I'm
like
sure.
this.
I mean, I think it's going to be the same answer either way, but
Well,
legally,
if Chris was here, he might answer some questions, and he might be saying yes, yes, yes to everything. Yes, you could do this, yes, which he has in the past.
I think if the parking authority doesn't exist property belongs to the city, but then again, I'm not the attorney, all right?
Can it be approved pending some of these?
Yeah.
I think we
Well,
can do that.
and that's what we're probably doing anyway, and sooner or later, we probably have to take the parking over, but we're going to take it over on our terms, not the mayor's. The mayor's not going to dictate to us what he wants and what he wants us to do. We're going to decide what we want and what we want to do with the parking
I
and how we're
understand.
going to take it over. The mayor isn't going to tell us how to take it over and what we have to do.
I understand.
Any other questions?
No, I'm just.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Keith?
No,
Any
I'm good.
questions? Thank you, Neil.
Pretty much read the whole thing, so.
Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Dave presented, you
Okay.
seconded it.
Okay.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Passes. Next is Resolution 2014-69, awarding the audit for 2013. That was tabled on 5/27/14.
Yes, present. You gonna talk about it?
This is.
Why don't you just
no,
let
we-
it die?
Let it die.
Let it die.
We're going to just let it die, Jeff, because we're going to talk about it in the other ones. Okay, it dies.
Okay.
Next is Resolution 2014-74, resolution of the governing body of the City of Hazleton, Luzerne, Pennsylvania, authorizing, empowering, and directing the proper city officials of the governing body to appoint the liaison between it and Berkheimer, the duly appointed collector of local taxes for the City of Hazleton, for the express purpose of sharing confidential tax information with the City of Hazleton for official purposes.
Do we want to let this die till we get the wording done properly?
Well, yeah, we could let it die and bring it up later, but I talked to Tom, and he says he's too busy to do this. Normally, he would do this, and they want to appoint someone else, but,
We need to present this before we talk about it. Do
yeah,
want to present-
we should take it off
Take it off the table.
the table.
You want to table it?
Untable it. I'll make a motion to untable it so we can talk
No,
about it.
no. You
So
know,
leave it
if
tabled.
it's tabled,
We have
it
to talk
dies.
about it.
And then we'll
Tables
just,
it dies.
what
Let
we'll
it
do
die.
is it'll come back again, and we'll present it again.
Let it die.
But this ordinance, or this person, the 67 counties that they have, everyone, there's an officer for everyone.
I understand. I just thought
Yeah.
to make a discussion, I
But
thought we had to
we'll,
have it on the floor.
Well, my only question was whether the administrator, who I thought should be doing it, but he says he's too busy.
He was the one who's always done it. It's always been the administrator as the
Well,
liaison.
Well, we could talk about
Be
that.
awful busy.
That's it for old business. New business ordinances, 2014-8, amending the annual plan for the community planning and development programs for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal year 2014.
Fallon, come on.
Fallon, you could come up to the podium, please.
Well, let's get it on first.
Yeah.
I'll present it.
I'll second.
Second. Come on up, Fallon. Yeah, you could come up.
Hello. The $1,227, that isn't the only amount that was put in there. What happened is in 2011, that's the remaining balance. I'm just moving it forward so I can close out the 2011 housing rehab activity.
Okay.
I don't know the amount that was in 2011, but I can get that for you. 2013 had $34,550 for housing rehab, and if we get approved for a 14 budget, which I haven't received word from HUD, we'll have close to $40,000 for our housing rehab.
You're moving it forward.
I'm just
to be
moving it
used.
forward because I need to close out the activity.
Good.
It's been open since 2011.
Fallon, I've just one question for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, maybe more, but with CD and the CD projects that are being funded right now and are being moved ahead, do we still have, or do we not have, an engineer approved and signed that is working with these projects right now?
The only project that I'm actually moving forward that is necessary with an engineer is the elevator project. Barry Isaac is working on that. Mike Eversole is the engineer that is specializing. He specialized in elevators.
Moving ahead.
I'm sorry?
Is that moving
Yes,
ahead?
that's moving ahead.
That's been signed, sealed, and delivered.
It's in the process, yes.
Well,
No, I want to know if it's been signed, sealed, and delivered from that office over there.
The contract has not been signed, no.
Contract has not been
No.
signed yet.
No, Barry Isaac is working off of their previous contract. The mayor had discussed it with them, and the mayor said that was supposed to be done in your previous contract. Barry Isaac has been gracious enough to continue working on the elevator project. That's the only project.
Talon.
Yes.
Yeah, the Green Street project, the cleanup site project, that's in limbo.
That's on hold right now.
Lose that money if we don't move
No,
forward.
I applied for an extension from DCED just to make sure we don't lose the money. They gave us an extension until June of 2015.
They are looking at phase 2, I
Yes.
believe, trying to get into that. And through June or July, that second phase has to be applied for, does it not?
Once we get, well, they actually gave us the verbal award for it. We just haven't received the actual paper, but they told us already, DCD said that they will give it to the city.
Okay, and the holdup and the reason that you had to ask for the extension
Was
is
because I don't
the
have an
contract's not signed.
Yes, I don't have, technically speaking, I don't have an engineer.
Okay.
I got a question for you.
I have, Charlie, I mean, we voted 5-0 on that. Can we
Move forward.
do anything, file anything that would make the mayor sign that agreement? Can't we do anything with the courts, file something with the courts that would make him, I mean, we voted 5-0. It wasn't 3-2, it wasn't 4-1.
Well, but you know what? Before we do that, and let me ask a question here. And I'm not going to put anybody else on the spot. I will either write the letter or I will give a draft of it to Lisa, any member that wants to sign it. But I think it's time. I'm tired of this. And if we're going to have to send it to the Auditor General, the Attorney General, the Commission on Local Government, DCED, and this is, we're talking about HUD because these are federal funds, and these people have to start knowing what the heck is going on in Hazleton. This is not your fault. I don't want you to feel like we're coming down on you.
No.
Please, okay?
she's stuck
You're getting
between.
stuck in the middle. But this is going to stop one way or another, and these letters have to go out. And I want letters written so that everybody out there in the federal government and everybody in the state government knows what's going on in this city.
Can we try to get can we have the president of council sign the contract and turn it in?
I have to look at the contract to see who is the authorized person to sign it, but I think the mayor is listed.
I'm
I
sure
think
it's
the
the
mayor is listed
I
on
don't
there.
think I
Yeah.
could.
I'm almost
He's,
positive, Jeff.
He's the authorized officer, but I think 5-0 vote, we appoint an auditor, and he can't say, well, I don't like your auditor, and I want to appoint my auditor
Engineer.
for my engineer, and we should be able to do something.
This got to stop.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we've been overriding.
Okay, thank you, Fallon.
Okay.
Thanks, Fallon.
Any other
I appreciate
questions?
it. Again, not
roll
a
call.
shot. Please understand.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
taking the
Phil.
time the other day to talk to me about it.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is ordinance 2014-9, an ordinance to authorize the erection of a stop sign at 19th Street and Peace Street, first reading.
Presented.
I'll second.
On the question? Chief, could you comment about this, or what are your thoughts on our stop sign?
Initially, I wasn't sure. That's why I wanted to get back to you, knowing that there was a stop sign on 20th and 21st Street. I spent over 4 hours myself there in what might as well be considered a marked patrol vehicle. It's incredible the amount of traffic that is using that intersection. They're using 19th Street. My presence at the intersection failed to stop vehicles from not stopping at the stop sign often enough, yet alone the fact that people come down Peace Street, it seems like they don't want to use their brake until the last minute to stop for the stop sign in the following block. While I was there one night or one day after school, I actually backed the state police up. They made a traffic stop and arrested somebody on a warrant, but the traffic stop was for a traffic violation. There is certainly enough evidence to warrant a stop sign on Peace Street at this intersection. As you continue west on 19th Street, this is actually the only intersection from West Hazleton through that does not have a stop sign on the north-south street, which would be Peace Street at 19th. It seems to be working at all the other intersections. I think it's a good idea.
It would be a lot safer. If we,
I believe so.
Okay, it would be safer for the people in the area and for traffic.
Yeah, I firmly believe after my assessment and looking at the incidents and the flow in the school, especially because it's also a walking route.
Right.
If I could
right.
slow
That is.
traffic down
That
when
is.
school is in and kids are walking there also, I think that we'll all be better served.
Thank you.
So we have that
Thank
up
you.
in the Heights. It's
Thank
every
you.
block, so.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Sally, this is for you. Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Passes. Resolution, that's it for ordinances. Resolution 2014-77, and we're in the audit for 13, 14, and 15.
Present.
Second. Okay, on the question, I just want to say something. I want to get some more information, and I'm going to make a motion to table it, but I just want to say something that the mayor, I know, had something in the paper about, whether it got done on time or this or that. The mayor doesn't dictate what we do. We're the governing body that presents the ordinances that he has to follow, and he's not going to tell us what to do. When we award the audit, I'm sure the auditors will get their work done, but I know I have some other questions and some other information to get, and I would like to make a motion to table it.
Come before we do that. Would it be possible to award the 1 year and then make this 14, 15, and 16? I'm getting a little worried here about
Well,
meeting.
I mean, that's something we could talk about later, but
I would strongly suggest that if you're going to do that,
we'd have to rebid it.
well, you would have to rebid it, but but certainly you can do that quick enough. If you are concerned with it, then you might want to ask, and it would be up to the president.
The auditors, both of them said they can get the work done.
Yeah.
We're talking one more month now.
But hear me out first of all.
go ahead.
What I'm suggesting is that if we needed to, we can call a special meeting. I know we have our one meetings a week or one meetings a month during the summer. I think we can call a special meeting if we need to expedite anything we need to if we want to go to a 1 year deal. That by itself is not. I can live with it like
Okay,
this.
well, that's
Okay?
something that we
Let's
might
do this,
talk
and
to Tom about.
then we can consider that if we really do need to. And I understand what you're saying.
I would like
I
to say
understand what you're
something.
saying.
Go ahead.
Okay, last year's audit was not started until August, if I'm not mistaken. All right, August was when it was awarded out to be done, or that's when it was started. At least I know that much. The mayor's making this to do about, we have to get it out. Well, guess what? He didn't do that. How many years has it been in a row that it wasn't out?
Well, the other thing is, we've heard it from Robert Moore, who said that the big problem was the administration. So, that being said, I still would like to get some more information and make a motion to table it.
Before that,
ahead,
I just
Keith,
have
you
a
can-
question. Mr. Moore and Mr. Seymour, if either of you are awarded this audit, how much time, if you were given all the information, within a reasonable time frame, within like a week or two after it was awarded, would your firms need to complete the audit? Do you estimate? I'm not holding you to an estimated time frame. Just like rough estimate. How long does it take?
Typically, to complete the audit, once we have all the information, would be
No more than 2 weeks after all the information and. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you know what?
So
I mean,
you'd be able to get it
in other
done,
words,
too.
both of you are saying you
Both
can do
entities
it.
get the audit done in
Both of
a
you are saying you
timely
can do
manner.
it.
So the
long
mayor's,
as you have
the mayor's
cooperation.
just crying wolf and trying to blame council. I know, I know, Rob, I know.
Okay.
I know.
Right, right. And that's one thing, unfortunately, that we have very little control.
We struggle
Yeah.
with it on a
If the mayor doesn't like it, he could lump it. That's my feelings.
Don't forget to write that down, Sam.
No, don't
okay?
write that down. Okay, I'll make a motion to table it,
I'll second it.
on the motion to table.
Bast,
No.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is 2014-78, the NetraStar Police Training Partnership.
Present.
I'll second.
Keith seconded. On the question? Chief, my question is, they get other people to sort of subsidize what they're advertising?
Yeah, if you
Thank
look
you.
at, like, I just was on the.
Thank you.
guys.
You have a card. You have a card.
2 cards.
I just.
Oh.
Just wait.
Make sure they're yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would
I
you give
was-
one to Lisa so that she can
Okay.
give it to
I was on their
the-
website, and it
Yeah,
seems
give one
like
to
they have
Lisa.
different tiers if you want to give different amounts of money.
Yeah.
Am I correct on that, Chief?
Thank
You're
you, no
correct
problem.
that they do have different tiers if someone wants to advertise.
Right, if they want to
Right.
donate, right, and support the police, it's how large the banner is or how large the tower
My
is.
answer to the initial question, although you are correct, is that that's sort of their own agreement.
Now, that's only to, the advertisements are going to be on their regular website, or just for when the people do the training? Or when your men do the training, they're going to have, see advertisements in the banner on the side?
But I can't click on them. You
No,
know,
but they're
right.
going to
Yeah,
have
they're
those ban-
there.
Now, what about if I go on the website, or there's not going to be advertisements?
You can't go on the website.
Well, you can't go on my training website ever.
But I mean, just their website, the next.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they'll do on their website. I don't want to sound
Yeah, you don't know.
cavalier. But honestly, what they do on that end to make money,
Have you been on the Scranton and the Wilkes-Barre websites? Have
I
you
can't
seen-
go on their website.
No, but have you
because
seen-
there's no way for me to, I'd have to log on to their police network to see their website.
How long have they been doing it?
Scranton's doing it for a year. Wilkes-Barre is just up getting,
They're
building theirs.
starting.
But from my standpoint, if they never get an advertiser, once I enter into this agreement, I have the training program on my network. If they change it and put an advertiser, that's great. If they never advertise or put somebody on the banner, I'm still okay with
Does the state police do
that.
anything similar to this?
I'm sorry?
Chief? Does the state police do anything similar, or?
Yeah,
do
they
have
actually have their own
proprietary.
bureau that does training and education. They have a staff that they have an entire academy staff that
Division of
builds
the
it.
state police.
And they do online training. They've stopped people from going to academies, and you watch PowerPoint presentations and take tests, and it's sort of the way of the future.
Chief.
If you felt that this wasn't beneficial, you had the ability then to stop it at any time.
At any time. And or, again, at any time I'm directed to. If this ever changes, that it's not free or something in this agreement changed, I believe that I would have to come in front of you with another contract
let
saying
us
we're changing
know,
the contract.
No.
Yeah.
Chief, one of the things that I'm concerned about, I know that, and we've talked about this before, with manpower, with the time constraints, with everything else. How long do you, over a week's span of time, you're going to be putting out 10 lessons a week? How much time is this going to?
It's 10 lessons a month.
No.
A month.
10 lessons a month.
Right.
But how long does a lesson take?
5 minutes.
No. We're talking about taking it, but to write them,
Oh,
You know
I have
what?
no
I've done lesson
requirement.
plans before.
Yeah, right.
You've done lesson plans, Keith. You know.
Right.
and
I
some
mean,
of these
it's
things take a
he's
while.
When I talked about the 5 minutes and 10 lessons a month, that's to take. I am under no obligation. They hope that I will provide them with
Oh,
lessons.
okay. So you're
but
not.
I'm under no obligation
you have no
to do any.
obligation to write
No, no,
10,
no, no.
10,
None.
10,
Are
10.
there, is there like a scripted from from the code, for, say like the automobile code? Do they have their own set of questions? Or
Yeah. I've built questions for all kind of promotional exams before. They're not hard, and I can go right to MOPEC and get their test questions and plug them in there. That's the simple stuff.
Yeah, all I'm concerned about does not take an exorbitant amount of time,
No.
because time seems to be very precious.
and you're
here in
making it
this
mandatory
city.
for all the work, all the...
To take the training.
You're making it mandatory.
Right. Yeah, I believe that that's a good policy from a liability standpoint, so that I'm then able to say, wait a minute, my officers train 10 days a week or 10 days a month, and here's how often we go over use of force, vehicle, anything having to do with the important things. I think this will be very beneficial to us.
Okay. I'd like to say a few things.
Go ahead.
I think this is really good as far as what it'll allow you to do, based on the fact that you said, I think that I understood you correctly, that you can actually plug in which questions would come more often or if you wanted them to occur, more frequently, if you did get the reports and the officers needed more reinforcement in one area or another, that you can actually go and make an additional, either training, scenario plus the questions that would actually target those areas that you might want to see improved upon.
Right.
I think that can be a real asset to you and the department, so that when, like you were saying when I was speaking with you earlier, that when you do go and at court, that you have these trainings, and if you see anything, that it'll help target and it can be an asset as far as the training and not having to schedule some kind of training somewhere, some way for your officers, because we know that taking a day to go training is
one of the things
is hard with the police department with the numbers that we have. But if you can do it little bits at a time, and it's going to give you the statistical information that you need to be more efficient and to actually for them to do their job better.
I recognize that my department is great at a lot of things and deficient in several, and one of them is training records.
Yeah.
And this will be a free tool for us to be able to start to maintain, some semblance of training records. I think it'll be great for us. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. No, I'm good.
Thank you, Chief. Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Monday.
Yes. Resolution 2014-79, approval of the municipal lease for the undercover auto theft task force vehicle between Susquehanna Bank and the city of Hazleton.
I'll present.
Second.
Jeff seconded. On the question? Roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes.
Sosar,
Yes.
Monday.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-80, a resolution reconsidering and overriding the mayor's veto of Ordinance 2014-7.
Present.
Second. On the question?
Do we need to talk about it, or?
If you could, if you want, go ahead.
I don't
Go
know.
ahead, you could say something.
Well, the mayor gave 5 reasons to veto it, and I think all 5 were wrong.
They're all stupid reasons?
Well, I'm not going to say they're stupid, but
I am.
Want to read them for the record?
Go ahead. Go ahead, you can go ahead.
No, I was asking Jeff.
Well,
I don't have it in front of me.
the first reason he said was Ordinance 2006-25. He said that it had a limit of 2 restrictive signs. That's the handicap ordinance. The word restrictive is not in there at all. Reason 2 was assigning code enforcement and not the police department, but the code department handles the handicap signs now anyway. Reason 3 was the $25 fee, which is the same as the handicap fee. I also noted was unused signs will have to be removed, causing a burden on the Department of Public Works, which there's no rush to take them down, and I think that actually overlaps the snow ban signs. So when you put the snow ban up, you should be able to pull them down. I mean, hopefully everybody pays for them. And then his 5th thing was that he wants to put in Pango, which was the smartphone pay thing, which I think is just a couple of years down the road for a case.
He's crazy before, so.
Okay.
And he also has to
Can we vote?
understand that, like Mark had read, under the new third-class city code, all right, we control the parking and the
The
placement-
ordinances
yes,
for
and the
parking.
placement
Yeah,
of signs
the
and
ordinances
whatnot.
for parking. You're right, Judy.
Okay.
On the question,
Ready
or on
to
the
go.
roll call?
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is Resolution 2014-81, amending Resolution 2014-66, awarding the contract for road materials for 2014.
President.
Second. On the question? Roll call.
Bast,
Yes.
Cassatt,
Yes.
Mope,
Yes,
Sosar,
Yes.
Mundy.
Yes. Next is comments from the audience regarding anything. Go ahead.
Charlie Ziegler, Harrison Street, Hazleton. Pretty much everybody knows that my red button issue is abandoned cars and illegally parked cars. I do a lot of walking through the city of Hazleton with my dog, back streets, alleys. There are literally hundreds of cars that are either abandoned or illegally parked, which in turn, the city is losing tens of thousands of dollars in revenue.
Do most of them are they? Do they have stickers on?
Most of them, no.
Most of them do not have.
No plates,
valid
no stickers.
Registration or
No,
inspection.
most of them are expired. One example here is, since you're asking about registration, a friend of mine lives on 10th and Grand Street. Keeps up with his property, beautiful property. There's an abandoned car by his house for months. The police came over. It has legal inspection, legal plates on it.
but doesn't it
They
have-
cannot tow it. It's a legal issue. Car has flat tires, windows down, stereo ripped out of the dash. The opportunity came up. The streets of Hazleton are only swept once a year, most of them, as you know. The man sweeps all his sidewalks out into the street. He figures, here's the perfect opportunity to have this car towed. Street cleaning day came. Street sweeper came, went around the car. Car was never tagged. Not only is it abandoned by his house, makes his property look bad, he cleaned up for what? So the next opportunity to move this car is snow banned, plates expire, next year's street cleaning fee. We need to do something, and I don't blame the police department or code enforcement. Their plates are full. We need to get someone else in there, either from the parking authority, a retired police officer, part-time, to go around different sections of the city and tag these cars.
Yeah, I was told, but maybe the chief can answer this.
He left.
Isn't the car supposed to be moved after a certain period of time? Like they can't sit there for so many days?
No, not if it has legal plates and sticker on it.
As long as it's registered and inspected legally. Even
But-
if it was uninspected, it's not illegal. It would get a ticket, but it's not illegal. Even if it was unregistered and legally parked, it would.
Because honestly, my son's car was parked and he was away. And God forbid I should drive my son's car, you know. He gave me the keys, but we don't move it, okay? It's one of those deals. And an officer did come by, this was a few years back, and say to me, you know, you have to move that vehicle or they're going to say it's abandoned. He was gone maybe 2 weeks.
If the car has
It
the
was in
plates
front of
on
my
it,
house.
it can sit. But the thing is, the opportunity came there that the city could have got a parking ticket because for street sweeping, you're only cleaned once a
Yeah,
year.
but can't it come under, because it's a nuisance, it's not drivable, it's flat tires, or broken windows?
It should come under
Mike,
a
can't it
nuisance.
come under a nuisance, that it's a nuisance and you
There's
could-
so
you could
many
remove it?
nuisance, Jack. There's so many. They're not addressed.
What?
There's so many of them around, they're not addressed. That one car that I started this over, that Cadillac, was replaced by 4 other cars now that are abandoned there. So we got rid of one, and it's like a rabbit. You know, something has to be done because it is getting out of hand. I know the police department has a lot to do, and so does code enforcement. We need someone out there to tag these cars and follow up on them. Sometimes when they're tagged, it's not followed up, and they just lay with tickets on them.
Fire department's supposed to be
Wait,
doing that as well? Fire was supposed to be doing it.
Well, they were talking about doing something.
Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. Plain and simple.
This is not a new problem.
It's not a new
And
problem,
it's not-
but it's getting to be a worse problem.
And I understand that, but this is not a problem which I believe is separate to Hazleton. And
I agree.
I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel here. All we've got to do is check with the other communities. I know I see Mark raising his hand. I know you're going to be talking about the blighted communities or committees and all that.
I don't
But
understand.
All we got to do is just take a look at what the other communities are doing. Chief, could
Tag
you
them and tow them. That's all I could say.
Chief, could you check on that, please, and see what other communities are doing in regards to this?
I mean, like it says with the street sweeping, that car should have
Right.
been tagged.
And you know, that's the easiest way to deal with it.
Yeah, and they went right around it.
There you go.
So there's the man trying to keep up with his property, and what happened? Now his property is all slopped there where the car is parked, and nothing's being done.
If you could do that,
Yeah, go ahead.
if you could check
Thank
on
you.
that, please.
Thank you, Charlie, thank you.
It's sort of 2 or 3-fold. First of all, if you'll review parking ticket revenue for the city of Hazleton from 2012, when I became chief, till 2013, we're up $120,000 in parking ticket revenue. And so there's no way anybody can say we're not ticketing vehicles. I've become the poster child sometimes because I take the stance on illegally parked cars. My hands are tied by 2 things. First of all, the vehicle code. I cannot tow a car
That's legally parked.
if it's illegal to tow it. I have to deem the car a hazard, or it has to fall into certain reasons why I can tow it. It is quite possible, and what I will do is check with the solicitor to see, can I come back in front of you with our parking ordinance? It's quite possible that back in 1992 or 1987, when we wrote the parking ordinance, we didn't need to be this concerned with cars that are being left on the side of the road. And so perhaps, as Chief Mandak was just saying, one of the parking ordinances, or at least one of the ordinances, has a time period in there. What I don't want to happen is I don't want you to legally park your car in front of somebody's house because it's a side street, there's no meter, and you go to Europe, and you come back and I towed your car, and now you have a $50 or $100 a day storage fee because your car was there for 10 days and it wasn't moved. But the fact is that I need to be careful.
Maybe, Chief, check into other cities. I mean, this is a problem probably other cities have too. Maybe how they deal with it.
Yeah, that's an easy. I mean, I'll make a couple of phone calls and find out.
Yeah, see
Right.
if they have,
All you got to do.
if they have an ordinance or they have something on the books.
But I do, honestly, if you remember, when I send my people out, because we're on the main streets, the highways, and the street sweepers going through, I towed 19 cars one day.
I think too, if a car has 4 flat tires and the windows are out, that's not a drivable car.
I can't
You
argue
should be
with
able
you.
to tow
Trust me
that.
when I tell you that I'll deal with this specific issue that I'm just learning about right now before I go home tonight.
That's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I believe one of the things we should write into our street sweeping ordinance is if your car's there, it's not getting ticketed. It's being towed. I deem that a hazard, and it costs the city extra money, because what ends up happening is
There's people going to work in the morning, and sometimes, you know, if they don't
but we
know,
put
it's-
those signs
yeah,
up so far in advance,
yeah,
and I
I
look
know.
at it, and it's like, how do I pick and choose? Either I tow it or I don't tow it.
But there I have to say there is a problem because of the inclement weather, the street cleaning didn't get done, and I know on Diamond Avenue, they had those signs up for quite a while, and it was like, okay, so when are they coming, when are they coming? They couldn't keep their cars away forever in front of their house.
That's where I would have to disagree with you, because the sign doesn't say street sweeping. The signs that are put up say emergency, no parking and block. No one tells anybody what the emergency is. People assume it's okay to put the car back, but for all they know, we were going to dig a water line on Monday or anything like
I'm
that.
going to argue with that
Yeah.
because usually there's a piece in the paper that says this and this day is getting, it's just, the streets are getting swept.
But it wasn't.
Whatever.
And right.
Those signs, unless you have a street sweeping sign up, you cannot then use that as an emergency because it's not an emergency. So you have to pick or choose.
But it is an emergency for those signs.
It's either you're street sweeping or you're having an emergency because it's not fair to the people who are waiting on the city to do the job, and then they're put out for a whole weekend or 4 or 5 days till they discover when they can put their car there. People have groceries. People have babies. You know better than anybody what it is to carry one kid in a garbage bag or a grocery bag under your arm at the same time. You cannot not accommodate the public because you couldn't get there. So that is a problem. So either you have to figure out a way to straighten it out, but we
Sure.
can't do that.
But so you don't want us to tow the cars?
I'm not saying.
Well, I think towing's a little extreme.
Yeah, because I look at it as, the fact is, the reason why it's an emergency is because I think it's a hazard. Because when the street sweeper can't clear there, then all the debris is left there. And then when somebody goes to stop in that area, the friction coefficient is so high, it's like you're on ice. And so then either I have to send the highway department back to sweep the street a second time when the car's not there, and it's just that much more of an expense.
I appreciate the dilemma, but then in the same token, you also have to appreciate the public's dilemma.
It's it was a $75 ticket too.
Right.
So
That should hurt enough.
That's a
Do some
deterrent
research
enough.
on it. If we
See-
can
yeah, see what-
revisit
Sure.
this at the next
Absolutely.
meeting, please.
Yeah.
I think we're spinning right
That's
now.
fine. Thanks.
Okay?
Thank
you.
I think you should tow them. That's my opinion.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Mark. You want to speak or?
Yeah, I really want to follow up with what Charlie said about the abandoned cars and also with also other nuisances. I agree with Charlie that code and the police has a lot on its plate, but there is a remedy. The state gave it to us in the new third-class city code, which is called nuisance abatement, which allows for the council to designate a nuisance abatement officer and a nuisance abatement board, which would take care of all these problems. And it's in section or Article 27A, nuisance abatement. And I could say as far as 2702A, report investigation of a public nuisance department to which reports of the existence of a possible public nuisance shall be made. Criteria for investigating reports. The designated department shall create criteria for investigating reports made to it to determine the existence of a public nuisance. The reports may be submitted to any member of the public, any city employee, or elected or appointed city official, or result from inspections made by the department. And the notifications, if the department, either as a result of a report made to it or an investigation made by it, reasonably believes the reported property involves a building which appears to be structurally unsafe, it shall notify the city's building instructor or appropriate official, whose city's building inspector or other appropriate official shall cause the property to be inspected. That's for, obviously, properties, but it also deals with not only cars, but also other hazards that the city may see fit. So what I'm saying is that council can designate a nuisance abatement officer separate from code and police and to address the situation. And I think that we should take this into consideration because the state provided us with it in the new third-class city code. And York, Pennsylvania, does have a nuisance abatement board. And I will forward that information to anybody who wants it.
Maybe we can do something to move forward and look into this.
Now, also, I wanted to say, as far as what you were saying about contracts, it does, in the third-class city code, address for, in section 1901, subsection J, the council may also, by ordinance, provide a contingent fund or funds necessary for necessary repairs, and also place bids without putting an advertisement through. So to say that that council cannot, has no authority in contracts, providing for contracts, is misleading at best. And I would like to know from the chief, there was something as far as posted on social media as far as solicitation of volunteers for auxiliary police. I would like to know, did you give any authorization for that, or did...
Absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah. They're the people, the Northeast Crime Watch has been running that for me, trying to get volunteers, and I tasked them to please try to start to solicit for volunteers so that I have a leg up when I'm ready to do the academy.
Okay, because was the council made aware of this, that you were going to do that?
I have a question too. Did you pick Craig and Villamarie to be the contact people?
Right, that's the Northeast Crime Watch. I had tasked one of my crime watches.
You authorized both of them?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know, as far as, all right, because it seems to me that I don't understand how somebody who's not even trained or has a background in law enforcement or military background can be subject to just solicit volunteers. I mean, yeah, he's a crime watch. He's part of a crime watch, but that doesn't give him the authority, because the council is the one who should actually say it. Well, the chief should just say to council, "Hey, look, I'm going to solicit this person or ask this person to solicit volunteers for this auxiliary police," and that's what should be done. And also, he was all over social media saying that the city does not need liability insurance for the auxiliary police, or it does not need to be covered under liability insurance. I wanted you to be made aware of that, Chief, because that's what he's saying online. That is not true. I've checked out, I've done my homework on this, and New York City, they say that actually that the auxiliary police volunteers need to have their own liability insurance or be subject to their own devices, because I have case law here from the auxiliary police organization in New York City. New York State Association of Auxiliary Police in Massapequa, New York. And it says, for auxiliary police officer liability, the simple fact is that the auxiliary police officers work every day of the year without any legal authority to perform their duties while on routine patrols. The lack of legal authority creates a myriad of legal issues, one of which is liability for negligent acts. As stated above, the Act provides immunity, and that's Article 9, substatute 113, this is New York, to auxiliary police officers for negligent acts only when performing duties, quote, relating to civil defense, but not limited to activities pursuant thereto in preparation for anticipated attack, during attack, or following attack, or false warning thereof, or in connection with an authorized drill or test. And there's a case called Fitzgibbon versus the County of Nassau. And that was when crossing a street, a person this was approximately at 11 o'clock at night. He was struck and injured by a marked RMP patrol car owned by the defendant, and that was a Nassau County or Nassau Police Auxiliary Police Unit 316. So if Mr. DeCosmo can, look at that, or the chief can look at that, because clearly the auxiliary police does need liability protection. And I fail to see how it doesn't need liability protection in that. And also, under the auxiliary police statute, it says that only in emergencies can it be used as far as force or arrest powers are concerned. And that has to be provided for by the governor. And it says that in Section 6, upon the occurrence of any disaster or emergency other than a labor disturbance in any municipality, the chief executive officer, meaning the mayor, thereof may request the governor for the emergency assignment of police equipment, auxiliary police, and members of the regular police forces from other municipalities for the period of such emergency. If the governor approves of such request, he shall direct the commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police to order the chief executive officers of as many municipalities as may necessary to transfer such officials, shall transfer such police, I'm having a glare here, shall transfer police equipment, auxiliary police members of the regular police force to the requesting municipality in sufficient numbers and amounts to aid in meeting the disaster or emergency. So, once again, the auxiliary police is meant to supplement, not to take over or to try to, be another force on top of the existing force. So,
I don't think anybody here, Mark, thinks that that's the case.
No, I'm just trying to explain the statute. But also in that statute, it says that the auxiliary police have to go through the same scrutiny in terms of their requirements, meaning physical, psychological evaluation, testing, the same way the regular police does. So how is it to say that you could put some fly-by-nighter in as an auxiliary policeman? You could put Joe Schmo in and, say, well, hey, look, I'm an auxiliary police officer. I've just, been given a badge, can get a gun and walk around and just say, okay, I'll arrest this person because, I think he's doing something wrong and not have any idea of what he's doing.
Mark, can I make a suggestion to you? You've read an awful lot to us tonight. I'm going to ask you a favor.
Sure.
And maybe shorten this a little bit, but get the information out. If you can highlight the stuff that you've been reading and that you have researched, and you can send it to either Lisa or you can forward it to us as members of City Council. It'll save a lot of time. It'll disseminate the information.
I wanted to present this at the work session, but I didn't know you had other
I understand,
things.
but it's getting, right now, as you can see, we are losing more and more people. It is very, very hot. And rather than, I'm not slighting what you're saying. I'm saying if you can disseminate to us so that we can read it and understand it and digest it, it's a lot easier to do it that way than to listen to it on a hot evening.
All I just want to make short and sweet is I don't think a person that is unqualified and has no background in police, law enforcement, or military background, and I said this last year, the first time I spoke in front of this council, and I said either people have had military training or police training should be involved, not some fly-by-nighters from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait a minute, he wants to.
Go ahead.
I just wasn't sure if thank you. It's Norman Tarantino. It's an honor and privilege to speak to you guys again. One of the first things I always like to say is I like to always try to present to you guys some of the good things that I see in the city. and I got to see and talk to two of the crews that were cleaning out the storm drains in my neighborhood in the last week. And one of the things that was stormed that the men's on the crew told me was that they didn't have a record of all the two of the drains they were doing on Burn Street and Lee Court. They didn't know were there until they got calls about a backup. I'm just hoping these gentlemen were doing a great job, did a lot of work for the city, getting these storm drains cleaned. They were quite packed that I saw, and they were doing all of Laurel Street also. But, well, I want to know, isn't there just a map with a marking of all the storm drains that they can just X out when they're done, that these guys didn't know that there were two drains
I don't
at
know
Burn
that
Street?
I don't know that that actually exists, and when you're talking about what's the cities and what's the sewer authorities and everything else, it is a veritable mess.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, because something should be simple, that there should be just a map to X out what is done, what needs to be
Heck
done.
of a job.
And not have...
Yeah. These guys do a heck of a
Yeah,
job.
They did a great job. I
but
thought...
there's no good way to be able to break that down.
Comment on what he's saying is that back truck used to go out on a daily basis every summer. But we're so short-handed, it goes out maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Now, they've had it out a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. But usually what they do is we used to try to get all the inlets done in the summer. Well,
They had a
now,
schedule.
unfortunately, we're going to the ones that,
The backups first.
right.
And the thing is, when the crew
Right.
members tell me they didn't know that there were drains here, that's kind of scary. That's a simple map. I said, it should be able to be computerized at the new day and age, or a simple map
I don't
that
even
you
know
can
if they
just
have a
put an
computer
X
in that
over when
department.
you've done them.
I agree.
And that's, I just want to say that seeing these two men work and what they did on the drains, I observed them. We're doing a great job for the city, really breaking their balls, trying to get this work done, and it was nice to see something being done correctly in the city, which I like to always bring up when I'm here at council.
And considering they're very undermanned, very, extremely, they do a terrific job.
Did a great job. I want to make
Kudos.
a point of bringing that
Kudos.
up today. One of the other things, since everybody's concerned about the parking, I want to say one of the things that the council should look into, I'll make it very brief, is they should look into a multimeter like they use in New York and Philadelphia. You put 1 meter in each block, you go and get your ticket and put it in your car, and you can use your credit card or cash in that machine. Instead of having to load up my smartphone with an app to park my car is ridiculous.
But you know what, sweetie, we're not New York yet,
Yeah.
okay?
But I understand that, but a multimeter is something that's very common in all different
I
cities.
understand that, but we're not New York yet, number one, and number two.
They have them in a lot of places. They
Yeah.
probably are a good idea.
Yeah, because that way you can use a credit card, and
Or-
instead of having to put an app in before I can park. But the only thing it's going to be, it's going to put a parking attendant will have to come back instead of having somebody ride around in a vehicle
Right.
with not using that. The other couple of quick things. I want to know with the new parking lights the new street lights that are being put in, I haven't heard any clicking on them for the people who may be coming downtown and are hearing impaired. Are they going to be, is that going to be a feature that's going to be yet to be turned on the new traffic lights? No, I thought we had them at one time. I thought that we were one of the first cities to install clicking lights in the state. And I'm just surprised to see.
We're going to have to check with the state and our engineer, Dominic, about that.
Because I hate to
that's a
see,
good point.
I hate to see visually impaired people get into an
Yeah.
accident because of this new
Yeah,
program that.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Have also we got a status yet on what's going on with St. Joe's? Has any work proceeded, or have you got an update on that?
We read in the paper, we haven't heard anything, but
So the administration hasn't given you an update, or anybody
got
update?
any information, but the guy said in the paper that he's going ahead with some of his plans. It's just that I guess they got pushed back.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thank you very much for your time. I'll let you go because it's getting late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Steve Goldian. I'm from 10th Street, 10th and Grant. The car Charlie was in fact talking about. I think the abandoned vehicle ordinance that's written up in the city has a provision in it that says that if a car is undrivable and parked on a city street, even though legal inspection and plate, it's considered abandoned if it's over 48 hours. This car has been there since the end of February. I've had at least 4 city employees, 1 officer run the VIN number and the plate, or just the plate, I'm not sure, both. And I figured street sweeping was my out. You know, I keep my property, I cleaned everything up. We supposedly tow things that are in the way on street sweeping. That's what happened on Diamond Avenue. And this car's still there. Flat tires, windows down, stereo ripped out of it. It's been there since the last snowstorm because I snowblowed around it. And now my side of the street's a mess.
We will definitely have...
I'm not looking for any special treatment. I'm only...
No.
This is a small part of a bigger problem.
The very first I'm hearing of this.
And Frank is right there, so Frank,
What's really
please
wild...
take down the name, the number.
I don't know if the
and everything
Facebook
of that
page,
vehicle.
HPD Hazleton Facebook page, has any relation to the department. It could be just someone who has that name. I posted that on that page. Why, after street sweeping, wasn't this car towed, blah, 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 blah. And I got some pretty spirited answers from a lot of people. And the one I got back from them was, if this is such a problem, why don't you call 911? Now, I'm 49 years old. I work at a local business for 20 years in town. I was brought up to think that 911 was for somebody breaking in my house, an emergency, not for an illegally parked car. We've all seen the TV show where they say, ma'am, that's not an emergency, call this, okay? I then went back to that Facebook page and my whole post was deleted. Everything that was said and everything was gone. Now, like I said, I don't know if that site is actually related to HPD or if it is. It could, for all we know, be Jeff here has a page up.
I think it's just a
you know what I'm
Facebook
saying.
page, yeah.
But I just wanted to be heard on it. I don't
Cop
come
Logic.
to many council meetings.
Cop Logic, that will be taken care of by Cop Logic.
Yeah.
We stay here much longer. The car is already...
Don't worry, it's an old Honda. It's going to rust
Okay,
in that
that's
street
good.
soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
One quick thing I forgot to bring up. Why is the city billing a fire company for not having a business license and suing them and taking action against them? I think that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Go ask the office over there.
We agree with you, Norman. We
I
agree.
want to make sure that was on the record because the fire company should not be billed by the city. That was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in this paper in this town.
They include it in the budget.
Thank you.
If they include it in the budget, and they're the budget, then what happens is we give them money so that they can pay us back, which is totally ridiculous.
I think I need to address something so that none of you think that I disrespect you. I had asked the Northeast Crime Watch, Craig and Vilma, to please post something to start to solicit for volunteers. I am in the infancy of figuring out what it is that we will need with an auxiliary patrol. I shudder at even saying auxiliary police because although I'm well aware that there are laws that allow us to do things, I'm not sure that that's going to be good for the city. And so the first thing that I did was solicit for volunteers. The second thing that I did was meet with Attorney Solt. I'm sorry? I met with out of Chris Lusser's office, and I said, I need a legal opinion on all things such as what releases are the city going to require when we give to people if they get hurt, and what happens with liability insurance and other insurances, and what powers do we want to consider to give them, what powers can we give them, what powers we can't we give them. When I start to formulate a plan, I guarantee you I will be back in front of you long before it's on your agenda saying, here's my rough draft, let's work through this at a work session because this is what I think is going to be good or not. I am nowhere near even having you consider or read the law on auxiliary police until I can figure out where it is we want to go.
Chief, maybe instead of going back to our solicitor all the time, which costs us money, and I know you need legal opinions, but maybe some of the things that he would provide you are maybe answered by another city that has an auxiliary police that does everything. They could give you a release. They can give you an opinion without it costing us money
Understood.
with the chief. And I'm just suggesting that to try and save the city money.
I understand.
I'm not saying, don't use Chris for anything.
I agree.
I'm just saying.
What I did when I went there is I handed him a packet. Easton is one of the cities that I handed him the packet for and said
An auxiliary police?
Yeah. and I offered to him, these are the things, but I need, some of these things we're going to have to think through, but I already did that, and I also agree with you that anytime I can not reinvent the wheel, we will. But I didn't want you to think that I was trying to do something and not tell you. We're nowhere near it coming in front of City Council for any kind of approval. And to take something off my plate, I asked the heads of one of my crime watches who've been working with me since 2012 on auxiliary police to please just start to solicit potential volunteers if we have an academy class.
I got something for you. The one issue I have with it is the person you put in charge of this to go on Facebook and start putting everybody's criminal past on Facebook. I don't think I want him representing the city in any way.
I don't think he's representing the city.
Well,
if
you
he's
have
putting
him-
things on Facebook, and again, I don't go on Facebook,
I
and I
understand
can't
you
control
don't, and
Facebook.
I just don't think
Right.
that somebody
But
that
if you
you're off-
put something on Facebook, if you print it out and give it to me, I will
Well,
certainly review it. But I'm
I'll
unaware of it.
I'll show you
yeah,
what he put on
honestly,
there.
I will.
It's-
Because you're right. I mean, that's not what this was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be to take something off my plate and ask somebody to give me some help.
Yeah, because, I mean, if he gets hot-headed because somebody says something to him and he wants to go attack somebody else,
Right. And that shouldn't
I
be.
have a serious issue with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
There's no more audience.
How about council?
To adjourn.
Don't we get, Jack, how about some council
Oh,
comments?
comments from council, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Keith.
Thank you, the last couple people, for staying.
Have a nice night.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
nice
you
4th
for-
of July.
But I
Yeah,
do have
that's
something
right.
I
We
want
have
to talk about.
But thank you for
Before we
coming.
skip
Thank
this.
you for everything and putting up with us.
I got something I want to say before we skip over everybody, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Apparently, I guess we do have a new head of recreation because he's out talking and working with the HIP Center and everybody else. So I don't know if he was put in by executive order or what, but he's up at Community One Center working on the summer program, which is great. But I would have liked to get a chance to meet him.
Who's this?
Fred Barletta.
Oh, okay.
We have a new director of the airport, too, that nobody told us about, from what I hear.
I saw we have a few executive orders that went
But
through.
we have a lot of people that we don't know about.
So I didn't know if anybody knew about that one or not. And I guess one other thing quick, if it's my turn.
We're bypassed.
Just so everybody knows, for the past few months, I've been working with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania on putting together a local land bank. I hope to have a presentation together in the next few weeks so we could get together and work on stuff before going public.
Okay, good.
But
That's good.
I guess everything else could wait.
Is that it? Is that it, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm good.
Pete?
We'll go.
David?
David, you want to make a
Oh,
comment?
I'm sorry for producing so much hot air tonight. I apologize.
Then stop producing
Chief, the only thing I'm going to ask you is when you see Attorney Slusser, tell him that we all said hey, and that anytime he wants to come and say hey back to us, since we've asked him an awful lot of questions that he refuses to answer, we'd kind of like to know that he still is around.
We're not sure if he's still alive.
That's all I've got.
Motion?
Oh, go ahead, Jeannie. Jeannie, you want to?
Thank you, thank everybody once again. We're going, I'm not producing any more hot air.
It's cool in here.
We've tried to do everything as fairly as we could for everybody. You know, some people are happy, some people aren't, but we did our best.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.